the show, this is it.
Get ready for truth and common sense. Join the Framers View on Rumble.com to be part of the chat. Be sure to click join and follow to help keep the Framer on the air. Watch the replay on theframersview.com or Rumble.com.
Welcome to Framers View. Here we are. It is, let me check. It's Tuesday. They called it Tuesday because it was the tooth day of the week. I'm just making it up as I go. What can I tell you? Hey, thank you for being here. Welcome to the Framers View. It is Tuesday the 7th, and that's Pearl Harbor. Oh, no, that was December. I get those things confused, but it's okay. Everything will be okay because, you know, I'm on video, and anybody can do that. Must be brilliant. Oh, wait a minute. I have evidence that's not true either. So anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being part of the show. Anytime you want to make a comment, you just go ahead and do that. I'm just taking a look here, seeing what's going on. Yeah, would you click on that following thing if you haven't done that? Click on that following thing and click on that like thing and just do that. And if you're watching me on YouTube, click whatever it is that's on that. But yeah, welcome to the show. So what's cooking today? Wow. Well, first of all, we got the 3 C's: climate, college, and China. And by the way, I noticed that on my Rumble title, I typed college with an A on college. It's just unbelievable. When you're rushing, you probably don't want to do that. Okay? I'm just telling you. So the 3 C's. I've got some interesting stuff today that's going to be fun. We'll also have some painful experiences for some people that really didn't want to do what they had to do. We'll cover that. Also some energy discussions. Man, energy's a big deal right now because, of course, everybody's afraid that Trump is going to destroy the massive money machine that all the people, the climate change people, and all of those morons, that they're going to, lose all their money if Trump, really does what he says he's going to do, which he probably will do. Al Gore, he's ready to explode. And we're going to watch that. You can actually see his blood pressure going up based on the color of his head. But we'll see that as we go along. It is really, it's hard to believe. It's not that he's relevant, because he certainly isn't, but it is that he just keeps rolling on. Al Gore does. It's crazy. So Sonny's lost her way again. We'll have a little information on that. Who's Sonny? But Susie, she's got it. And who's Susie? We'll talk about that. And a little more about the Electoral College, which I spelled correct, just so you can see, I spelled correct on college that time. So there you have it. And security in a new state that we'll see coming up soon. Yes, I am on caffeine this morning. I'm feeling good. We got some snow here. It's been snowing for a few hours. Nothing like back east. My brother lives in the Indianapolis area. He's in Carmel. I love caramels. You ever had, don't, I think that's different though. And then there's that place in California, they're called caramels. But anyway, they got like 6 or 8 inches of snow in Indianapolis. That's like tragic for them. So we'll see what goes on in that world. So Dems are high speed, putting down the Trump administration. They've got to do something. They got to get the press going. Just before this show started, I watched a press conference with Donald Trump, or part of it. And I said to Marie, she was watching it also. She was sitting in her office watching it. And I said, there's no way Donald Trump, and I'll have some of this tomorrow probably, there's no way Donald Trump could ever struggle with a press conference. And I said, conversely, when you look at Joe Biden, how could he have possibly done what Donald Trump did this morning in his press conference? And the press is acting pretty reasonable. They're asking questions. They're asking, I wouldn't call them tough questions really, but they're asking him questions, and he handles them like it's nothing. It's like, I don't know, Babe Ruth batting in the Little League against a Little League pitcher. It isn't a challenge. So, yeah, we'll see what goes on. So here's the news. By a huge surprise, Judge Merchan has turned down the Trump lawyers on staying the sentencing on Friday. What a surprise. I think Trump and his team have something planned to stop it for Friday. We'll see what happens with that, but I think that's going to come out today. If it does, it'll be because they finally figured out a way to make it work. And I think they're going to Superior Court in New York, and they're going to say, we haven't been given a fair amount of time to appeal this. And you can't challenge, or you can't sentence him without him being allowed to challenge. I think that's probably what's going to happen. We'll find out. I'm not a lawyer. I did play one on TV, but, we'll see. But Judge Cannon, not Judge Merchan, Judge Cannon, Martian, he's a Martian. She's the judge on the documents case with Jack Smith. And Jack Smith was going to release his findings on his case because, of course, he's resigning, I guess, just before the 20th. And then it would be an irrelevant rodent that nobody cares about. So he's got to do his final thing so he gets a few shots on TV. But Judge Cannon said, no, you're not releasing this. This is incendiary. This is craziness. You're not going to do it. I'm not going to let you do it. No. So that's what she's doing. Judge Cannon, okay, I know she got appointed by Trump, but she's a no-nonsense. I mean, she's gone against the Trump lawyers and a number of things that they wanted to do. She's just said, no, we're not going to do it that way. She's just being a judge. I know a few judges. Fortunately, none of them because I was in court. But, you can be biased in your life. You can love Biden, love Kamala, love Chuck Schumer, whoever you want to love on the Democrat side, or love Trump. But you can still be neutral as a judge and go, there's that little thing in the back of their head that goes, I can't do that. That isn't, I'd love to. It would make me feel good to do it, but no, we can't do it. So I think she's done a good thing. So what's cooking for today? We've talked about that. Let's get into the painful steps category. Kamala Harris had to do something that was incredibly difficult yesterday. She had to certify the guy that blew her out of the water. And I have a video, I have two videos of her. And I promise there probably won't ever be another Kamala video unless she does something really stupid, which could mean we're going to have a number of other videos. But so she had to do the certification. And when she got done with it, she had to speak to the press about it. And it isn't about what she said, although she used her English language improperly, and the fact that she also, the body language of her talking about how she needed to do this for, a transition, a peaceful transition, and all this kind of thing. Watch this video, and I think you'll see what I mean, because, she has it on her face all the time, whether she likes you or not. So watch this, and you'll get an idea of just how happy she is.
Today, I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which included today performing my constitutional duties to ensure that the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person, their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
So, body language. First of all, her facial stuff. Secondly, the way she's shaking her head when she's talking about what she did. But when she said democracy, she turned her head and shook it in a no way because she doesn't believe it's democracy that he got in. I mean, it is so clear. I mean, I get it. You know, it's tough enough when you play a sport, you know, and you just knew you were going to win. Although I think they knew they weren't going to win. But you just knew you were going to win. And then you lose. And you got to go shake the hands as you skate across the ice playing hockey when I played hockey, basketball, football, baseball in high school. You know, it was really a hard thing to shake hands, look at them, and congratulate them. Sometimes you just can't do it because you can't stand the guys you're skating past. And it's a rough sport, and you get put out all your aggressions on the ice. But you have to do it, and that's the way it works. And she did it. To her credit, she did do it, and she managed to get through it. But it wasn't any fun whatsoever. Now, with that said, you know, this whole Biden-Harris administration is on this emotional move to destroy anything that Trump could possibly do. You know, he's stopping the drilling, stopping the leases, stopping everything that has anything to do with energy, stopping it up in Anwar, stopping it on the coasts of California and the East Coast. Well, California, probably Washington and Oregon also. But the point is that he's stopping and causing trouble with everything. While that's all happening, because everybody knows that's trying to get into this country, that this border is going to get shut down on January 20th at 1 p. or is it 11 a.m.? I forget what time it is that they do the swearing in, but that's going to happen. So now there's thousands of people that are heading towards the border. I think from a logistic standpoint, they probably aren't going to make it. Maybe they will because Soros has probably got buses and trains ready to head up there to get them there as soon as possible. But the point is that these things are going on. All Biden would have to do is say, stop this. We're not going to let you in. You know, we have a new administration. They disagree with it. While I disagree with his opinion, we're going to respect that. You can't come in. Is he going to do that? No, I don't think he will. He's just not going to do that. So one of the things that happen when this transition occurs is on it was this last Friday that the people, I think that was the 3rd, 4th, something like that. The House came in and got the speaker put in place, and all of the new Congress people were then sworn in. And then there were some other people who got sworn in, and the vice president does that. And that's, of course, just in case you didn't know who the vice president is, that's Mrs. Harris, Kamala Mrs. Harris. And so this is just too classic to not show. So, you know, they shake the hand of the person. And by the way, I couldn't determine what this was. It might be a swearing in of a new citizen. But either way, this is about a swearing in, because you'll see her standing there. She's got a Bible. She's shaking the hand of the person that is going to be sworn in. And there's a person standing there with that Bible. And watch what happens. This is just too good. There's really no real speaking here. You can hear some people in the background.
President, for your work. And thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You know I'm the face of the city, bitch. That's why you mad. Little bitch.
The look on her face before that little piece there was truly a classic. Truly a classic. Where she's going to shake the hand and then, hold on.
You know I'm the face of the city, bitch. That's why you mad.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Little bitch.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. And that's with cameras in front of you. Whew, man. So Kamala's coming to the end. You know, she's going to run for governor probably, or run for president again, because she thinks she should have won. And I get that. You know, no pro team loses and they go, well, you know, we weren't good enough. We're not going to play the other 14 games. It doesn't work that way. Or baseball. You know, we're not going to play the other 148 games that we have because we lost to these guys. You don't do that, and you go out and you play the next time. So she'll probably do that. But there's a lot of money involved in that whole process, right? So is it really going to happen? I don't know. So there's a lot I want to cover today. And look, if you don't like what I do on the show, I'd love to hear from you and hear what you say, hear what you've got to say. Because, you know, I do this for you guys. I enjoy doing this, but I like to inform. And, you know, there's so many different items that can be covered. And I try to filter out the stuff that, yeah, whatever. But there's a lot of things that Trump's going to do that's going to make a difference. And I talked yesterday about some of the things that Trump's going to have a constitutional issue with, because there is a constitution. And so, you know, I keep doing this. So if you don't like something, you can say so. You know, I won't have you put in prison, even though Donald Trump's a good friend of mine. We went to lunch together. Okay, not really. But anyway, let me know. So one of the things that's a big deal, and I've got two videos on this that's important to understand. It's all about energy. One's about China, and the other one is about investors in oil. And these are two big issues. These are massive issues. This first one is about the batteries and China and what we have to do to protect our security. We'll talk about this on the other side because there's some other things to mention in this. So watch this.
When it comes to the EV part of that green transition, there are several components that are available for revision immediately. The designation of a foreign entity of concern, a supplier of batteries, really meaning China, was relatively lenient in the way that the Department of Energy interpreted the Inflation Reduction Act under Biden. That could change literally on day one.
That could change literally on day one. Now, think about that. So here's the thing that makes me crazy. The big cranes that they use in at the ports, California, Washington, East Coast, Southern Coast, down Houston, where all the ships come in and they unload. Most of that equipment comes from China. Many of the things come in on these big carriers are Chinese. There's a lot of China influence. I mean, our phones, everything's China. And these batteries, do you know what would happen if China just said, yeah, we're not going to do batteries for you anymore? We're not talking about just EV cars. There's so much battery availability coming from China. And we have to make a difference here. We have to. Even if it's in the 51st state of Canada. Well, I've been thinking about this. So there's Canada that could be a 51st state, but I think you could really make it, you know, states would be, you know, like all of the different provinces, make them states. You know, I don't know. Will it happen? Then you get Greenland, I mean, this is like back in the 1800s, just acquiring land, helping people, making it better, collecting taxes, fixing the budget. I don't know. What do you think? So that's one part. That's talking about the issue of having China controlling all of the things that go on with the Chinese influence into the United States with imports. And it's scary. Now, can we just shut China off? No. Can China just shut us off? No, because we both depend on each other because of the massive business we do, each side. But you could make a better transition, we talk about that a lot, to having America building a lot of these things that China is influencing into us, bringing into us. We got to think about that. Now, oil is another point. And, you know, there's so much to the oil and natural gas and coal and steel. Oh my God, the steel issue, where the steel business is being they're trying to, Japan's trying to buy Nippon, and they're trying to stop it. Biden's trying to stop that. But they're in trouble here in the United States with steel. Now, why would that be? And there's a reason I talk about this. Where's the steel coming from? It's coming, some of it from the U.S., but it's coming from China, a lot of it. Now, they're in trouble here in the United States with steel, the business of steel. And all the cars that are built all over the world, that's not being used out of U.S. steel. It's China supporting all of that, or a lot of that. So they're hurting. But Japan wants to buy the Chinese because, gee whiz, who's one of their biggest business groups? Automotive, Nissan, Toyota, Honda, a lot of Japanese companies. And they want to own the steel, which is a big part of that energy issue because it's cars. Think about how all of this ties together. I mean, it's fascinating, really. It's fascinating that this is all happening and all coming in to play in one simple form with Trump taking office. So, talking again about oil. Watch this video, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Well, they can create the option, but they don't create an obligation to produce. That really resides in corporate boardrooms. That's the private companies that make the decisions to drill. And they do that based on a couple of things. One is their risk tolerance, their appetite for investment, and also global supply and demand balances, Rich. And if the world looks like it's going to be long crude oil, as it looks like it will be in the early part of next year, then maybe there won't be as much enthusiasm for drilling, at least right away.
Okay. Think about this. The oil companies, I was talking to somebody on the phone a day or two ago about this. When you talk about oil and drilling for oil, that's a great idea. Drill, baby, drill. But here's what the oil company investors, and I've got a good friend that I'm going to have, that we're going to do a long interview that'll be separate from the Framers View Rumble show on Rumble and YouTube, but it'll be posted. And we're going to talk about oil and how fracking works and a number of things that are really fascinating, but do that separate from the regular show. But the point here is this. The oil companies look at it and they say, wait a minute, okay, so you want us to start drilling again. You want us to go to Anwar and get that going. You want us to do it offshore. You want us to do it on all these parts across the United States. You want us to drill, baby, drill. So we're going to spend, and this is so true, we're going to spend billions of dollars. What it costs to do one fracking location is unbelievable. And they're saying, okay, what is going to happen here? We're going to spend all this money. We're going to get everything going. And then if a Republican doesn't come in after 4 years of Trump, the next person that comes in could be a Democrat and say, we're shutting it down. And all of our investment is crushed. That's the problem. Because these businesses, and that's what they are, they're businesses to make money. If you don't understand that, they don't do it. It's not philanthropic that they're drilling for oil. So that's why we have to think about this from a business aspect and getting this going. That's why it's so important that the first 2 years have to be so successful. They talk about the reconciliation bills and separating the border issues from the budgets and all of the different things that have to be taken care of. And I'm not even sure which way is the best. I've got some opinions, but I'm still honestly researching it. But my point is this. They need to know, number one, Trump's done a good job in the first 2 years, and they hold that position on the second year when the election happens, and they keep the House and the Senate. Obviously, Trump will stay in for 4 years. But the oil companies are looking at it, and our expansion is going to be a little weak until we see there's some good things going on. That's the way businesses operate. It's what it is. So that's what they'll do, and they'll continue to do. Does that make sense? Of course it does, because I'm saying it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. But we'll continue to try to make all these things work and make you aware. You need to talk to your friends that are saying, Trump's going to do a great job. Yeah, he probably will, and everybody's going to push back other than Republicans, and we're going to have some Republicans that are going to push back because they're idiots. But it's always going to be a challenge, but we have to show success. The border and security is so important, so very important. So, with that said, and we're talking about energy, and energy is climate to some people. Everybody wants to stop oil because we can't be drilling down into the ground and getting oil because oil is dirty. Coal is clean today. The cleanliness they've created, the way they do clean coal, I don't even get it how they do that. But when I was a kid, we had people down our street that actually had coal burning furnaces. We had oil burning furnaces in our house. I lived in a mansion. That's if you're looking at comparing it to a doghouse. But that's okay. I didn't know the difference. But my point is that coal was not clean, and they figured out how to do that. So who's the guy that is making the huge difference in the climate world? Al Gorinsky. Yes, Al Gore. He's still going, and he flipped out the other day, and he just keeps coming back. And I wanted to show this video because it's just, it would be silly to say it, but it's kind of precious. So watch this, and watch what you can see his head turning red as he's talking because he's so upset that we're not getting far enough and we don't have control and we don't have, it's crazy. But watch this. I think you'll appreciate it.
The Secretary General said in his brilliant speech earlier today, we are not winning. The crisis is still getting worse faster than we are deploying these solutions, and we need to make changes quickly. Emissions are still going up. All these promises of the last few years to cut emissions are still going up. When are we going to bring these emissions down? And just to put the science in a slightly different context, people are familiar with that thin blue line that the astronauts bring back in their pictures from space. That's the part of the atmosphere that has oxygen, the troposphere, and it's only 5 to 7 kilometers thick. That's what we're using as an open sewer. If you could drive a car straight up in the air at interstate highway speeds, you'd get to the top of that blue line in 5 minutes. and all the greenhouse gas pollution would be below you. We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day, and the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land, and creating the droughts, and melting the ice, and raising the sea level, and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance on this world. We have to act. So in answer to your question, I would say we have to have a sense of urgency much greater than we have.
Man. Okay, so this atmosphere thing, the 10K run straight in the air, 6.2 miles. It's 33,000 feet. That's why when you talk about airplanes, they talk about airplanes, and then they talk about I forget the term, pressurized airplanes. It just went away from me for a second. Pressurized means that that's got oxygen. I mean, you can have planes that have an oxygen mask, but pressurized means it has oxygen and you can fly above 33,000 feet without passing out and crashing. But, you know, his idea that the oxygen is going away, and I cannot find evidence of what he's talking about what was it, 600,000 Hiroshima bombs? Yeah, but it can't talk. But he was losing it. I mean, we'll lose self-governance. What he's really saying is we're going to lose our grip on the world and all the money we're making. Think about that. That's what this is. That's what they're worried about. They're worried they're going to lose their money. They don't care about that convention that they were at. They all fly there probably on private jets. I know little Al Gore does. They don't care about that. And they justify, well, we have to protect our security, and we're more important than that. No, you're not. You're boring me to death. I don't know. Sometimes I just want to walk away, I guess is a way to put it. It's hard. It's really hard. Man, I don't think we're going to ever get past this completely, but people are getting tired of it. The wokeness, it used to be called global warming. Well, that didn't work. So let's call it climate change. Well, yeah, you morons. It's always climate change. You can look at my brother and I, when he doesn't do backpacking anymore. We used to do backpacking, not camping, backpacking in the mountains, no resources, off the grid, as they say. And he studied geology. My brother's a brilliant guy. He got the brains. I played sports. But the point is, he was always fascinated looking at things and saying, this is probably this old because of this thing. This is what occurred. And you can tell the temperature changes. And then you take a look at, another example is you take a look at when a tree gets cut down and you look at the rings on a tree. Most people don't know this, but you look at the rings on a tree and you'll see this ring. One ring will be a little bit wider than another. Now, the reason that happens is the colder it is, the narrower the ring is. It's shivering, basically. When it's warmer and more humid, the rings are further apart. That's just what happens. That's probably why when you see sequoias in California, you've got a very wet climate, a warm climate, doesn't get super cold, and they're huge. You see that in the South. You see much larger bark trees. But this climate change has occurred. We've got trees where I live that have been cut down because they've died, and you cut. I'm talking about trunks that are bigger around than you could get a quarter of the way around it with your arms. And you start looking at those rings, and there's these rings that go steady, 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 and all of a sudden it becomes narrower or wider, and then you can see where there might have been a fire. You can literally see these things because these trees are 200, 300, 400 years old. And people think that doesn't happen, but pine and lodgepole and some trees live that long. I've got a tree behind my house that's probably 150 years old. And so that climate does change, but it has nothing to do with SUVs. It has nothing to do with jets. You could say, well, it influences it. Maybe it does, but we're just a pimple on the planet, and we're a pimple in the universe. And what we do in United States isn't going to override what happens in Japan, what happens in India, where they don't care so much about that. I could go on that forever. So speaking of going on to forever, Sunny Hostin. Wow. She's still on January 6th. And she just can't let go. You need to understand, she's a lawyer. She was able to get through school and become a lawyer. And she's one of the dumbest people I can think of. And she made a comparison for January 6th that just really upset me. Watch this.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget, because past becomes prologue if you forget any.
So now we're going to compare January 6th to World War II, all of it, and specifically Holocaust, where many died, but specifically Jews, died a most horrific death. And she's comparing January 6th to that? Are you kidding me? Have you lost your freaking mind? And the answer is yeah. Yeah, I lost my mind. That's what she should say. How can you even, I don't know. Now I sound like Joe Biden. I don't know. I am speechless that she would even say that, but it's what happens. So it's a weak bunch of people, and it starts at the top. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, a weak Democrat Party that was in power in the Senate, the White House, the House, until we finally got control. They're weak people, and weakness creates more weakness. It's kind of like education. When you get weaker with education, you don't push hard to get your kids to be strong and learn and study, they're going to get dumber. And then those people become teachers. And they hand out certificates when they get out of college way easier than it used to be. That's what happens. So a little bit of a solution has occurred as this whole process of getting a new administration in. And I just love this. I'm going to show you a video that's just great. So Susie Wiles, I didn't even know who she was. She was named as the President Trump's chief of staff. And I didn't know her. She was a big part of the campaign. She managed things. She's one tough cookie. And watch this video. We'll talk about this on the other side, but it's just too perfect.
Susie Wiles did an interview. This is rare. She gave it to Axios. She talked about a lot of things. Here is just one excerpt from that. What will the hallmark of the West Wing be? She'll be chief of staff, first woman to ever have that job. Wiles. The West Wing staff is a mix of new and veterans. Many are young. All are prepared to work punishing hours. To my core, I believe in teamwork. Anyone who cannot be counted on to be collaborative and focused on our shared goals is not working in the West Wing, end quote. There's more from that. If you've seen it, Trey, what's your impression?
Good for her, because his first administration was plagued by infighting and backbiting and people taking credit for his victory, not named Trump. She's got a tough job, too. I mean, the margin in the Senate is actually bigger than the margin in the House. The problem in the Senate is the 60-vote threshold, which John Thune is not going to get rid of. So they really have, I understand the Senate wants to do this in two pieces. They want the border first and then taxes. I just think history tells you, you get one shot. Remember, Bill and Dana, Republicans couldn't even repeal Obamacare. Remember, they all ran on it, but they couldn't do it. First, the Freedom Caucus brought it down, and then John McCain brought it down. They couldn't even elect Mike Johnson Speaker without drama. They got one shot.
Boy, that's so true. We've got one shot, and really it's 2 years. Historically, president comes into office, new administration, the next 2 years go through, and then the election, and we lose the House or Senate. Hopefully not both. But if we do a good job, if the senators and the House people do their job and they stand strong, they will hold the foundation of this. But we've got to get real work done in the first 2 years. That's just obvious. So I think it's important for us to step back just a little bit, go back to the beginning of November. Can we do that before the election? And the reason I want to do that is this. We have to remind ourselves what really happened. This election was one of the first in a very long time where a Republican won the White House with the Electoral College and the popular vote. That's almost unheard of. And that's important, but it's the Electoral College that makes it work. And the whole idea, I think it was 1786, that they ratified the Electoral College. And there were a number of different ideas on how that should work. But the whole idea is that they wanted to be able to make states equal. Some way, somehow, they had to be able to be equal. And by that I mean a Montana could be as equal as California as far as the value of their votes. There were electoral votes based on the number of senators and congressmen, I think it is, congressmen that are in that state, and that's based on population. And those electoral votes go into the number, which is you have to have 270 to win the presidential election. And if you were to take just what basically is the East Coast and Illinois, East Coast, West Coast, and Illinois, you would never win as a Republican. I mean, those days are gone. They're gone the day of Ronald Reagan winning California. And in his second term, he won every state except for Minnesota. Those days are gone. But it's important to understand this just a little bit more. And I found just a simple video, and I'll stop this and go with it. It's just words, and I'm going to read it to you. But what I want to do is show you why this importance is as it is, if that makes any sense. So take a look at this. This is what I want you to see. For all people who fell asleep in civics class, there are 3,141 counties in the United States. So 3,141 counties in the United States. Trump won 3,084 of them. Clinton won 57. This is talking back in 16. This is because we don't have all those numbers yet for this election. Trump won 57 counties. There are 62 counties in New York State. Trump won 46 of them. Clinton won 16. But Clinton won the popular vote by approximately 1.5 million votes. In the 5 counties that encompasses New York City, that's the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Richmond, and the Queens, Clinton received well over 2 million more votes than Trump. Clinton only won 4 of these counties. Trump won Richmond. Therefore, these 5 counties alone more than accounted for Clinton winning the popular vote of the entire country. So these counties comprise 319 square miles, just 319 square miles. The United States is comprised of 3.797 million square miles. Now, number 6, when you have a country that encompasses almost 4 million square miles of territory, it would be ludicrous, he's going to show up, to even suggest that the vote of those who inhabit a mere 319 square miles should dictate the outcome of a national election. Large, densely populated Democrat cities, New York City, Chicago, LA, etc., don't and shouldn't speak to the rest of the country. And this, children, is why you have an electoral college. It's a safety net so that everyone's vote counts. Now, they would argue that their votes don't count, because the popular vote is what you count. It's the popular vote. It's not fair that we have this fixed election with an electoral college. It just isn't fair. It is. I mean, you can't think about that. Think about the counties. And go to this recent election. Kamala Harris did not flip a single county from Republican to Democrat in the entire United States. Not one. And of course, counties are where the votes are. When I vote, I go to Jefferson County and I put in my ballot. And it's counted. She didn't flip this county because it was a Democrat county. But the point is she's not going to flip, and Trump didn't flip it either. But Kamala didn't flip a single county in the entire United States. That is why we have an electoral college. It's so important to understand that. So, to make it fair and make it fairer, AOC has an answer to making it more fair for the new people that are coming in, for them to understand the electoral college. I won't speak during this. I just want you to read. Okay. That's how smart she is. I heard she's quite intelligent. Intelligence doesn't equal common sense, just in case you wondered. And I don't think you did. It is clear and true that there are some intelligent Congress people, whether it's Senate or the House, Democrats that are very intelligent, that have common sense, that are such a small group of people, especially on the Dem side, that they just don't dare speak. They don't. Think about the people you see sometimes that you've never seen them anywhere on TV. You never see them. The only people that know them is in their district back in their state. because they don't have to get in front of a camera. They don't want to speak out against their party, which I disagree with, but that's what happens. And that's what they do, and that's how they operate. There you have it. Sitting in a pool of mud, not speaking what you really believe or what you think. You just have to stay the party line. Now, when you're talking about the cabinet members and the secretaries of departments and getting those elected, that we have to keep the Republicans together for this vote. All right. Sebastian Gorka wanted to talk about security, and it was on Newsmax, and I was watching this, and it took me forever to find the video after I saw it on TV. You know, security is so important, and where we stand and how we do these things with the border and many, you know, elements that affect America. It's really important for people to understand. Gorka is going to be, he's in the security realm, but he doesn't have to go through confirmation. But watch this, we'll talk about it on the other side.
4 years ago, the anti-American forces of the Democrat Party lit a fuse on a threat that is global against the United States. They have empowered global jihadism by Biden's surrender of Afghanistan, by turning their back on our friends in Israel after the most horrendous loss of life in that nation since the Holocaust ended in 1945. The lack of leadership, the opening of our borders have made us more vulnerable than any time since September the 11th. That is why the president's team should be confirmed. I am lucky that I do not require Senate confirmation, as I will be working in the National Security Council. But whether it's Pete, whether it's Tulsi, whether it's anyone else, Cash, these individuals who are on the front line of national security in terms of the president's team should be confirmed if Americans in the House and the Senate care about the future safety.
That's so true. Sebastian Gorka, I think he's got some past that he couldn't get confirmed in the first confirmation back in 2017. But he's got some history and some background that he understands how this stuff works. And I think he'll be good. I don't think he should be probably a leader of the group, but I think it's important to have people like that are supporting those that are going through the investigations right now and getting certified to go into their positions. I'm hoping for, you know, everybody's picking on Tulsi Gabbard right now because she's a hard-ass woman. They can't stand that on the Democrat side. Because, you know, they've told us, you know, there are no tough women. They're all weak. Jesus. How do they get away with saying that? Well, it's because the press doesn't do anything about it. That's how. So, final story here. I get a kick out of Trump. He's doing three things. One, just before the show started, I hear Marie yell to me. I was here in the studio, and I hear her yell out to me, "Did you hear what Trump just did or said he's going to do?" And I said, "No." And she said, "He's going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America," which kind of makes sense because it's in the Americas. But he said, we do all the work and we go through, that's where we are. So I want to change it to the Gulf of America. Will that happen? I don't know. But he might try it. Now, the other one that's been spun up and has been creating a bit of gnashing of teeth, let's say, is this little piece. It's just fantastic. Trump reacts to Trudeau resignation. Many people in Canada love being the 51st state. Many people in Canada love being in the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Excuse me. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Yes, 51st state. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs. Taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of the Russia and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be. Now, I would agree with that. What a great nation it could be. Imagine all of a sudden, I mean, this is really what all the time that we spend just looking at geopolitical issues and what could happen here or there, so to speak. Russia is right next to Canada, right? Now, Trump wants to, I think he's kind of playing with the Canada thing. I don't know if he's serious about that. But imagine if he took Canada and made the provinces states. And then you've got Greenland, which is really frozen ice, next to Iceland, which is green. Just the way it works. And he wants to buy Greenland. Now, why would he want that? Now, first of all, if you look at the map, Greenland is huge. It's one great big iceberg, basically. But there's a geopolitical issue with Greenland that's really important for us to understand. Ships come in from through the Atlantic, and that's a huge port. If Russia or China or Iran or whoever took over Greenland, we would be screwed. The free countries, the NATO countries would be screwed. It's kind of like what we have to worry about with the Panama Canal. If Panama wanted to shut us down, they could do it. Now, they'd have a little bit of a problem because there's these guys that would show up from helicopters with, well, we won't get into it, but they wouldn't get away with it. Greenland's a little different story. It's hanging out there in the middle of the Atlantic. It's a massive port. Donald Trump Jr.'s there right now, along with a number of other people. And they're looking at, I was just looking at some stuff on X this morning where they're there, they had landed. I watched them land. And in Air Force Two, which is Trump Force Two or whatever they call it, which is Trump's plane that they fly in. Must be amazing to have enough money that you can spend to fly to Greenland with your own, I think that's a 757 that he's got. Wow. Anyway, so Greenland is a geopolitical control factor. Now, the politicians don't want that to happen in Greenland, I'm sure. And the politicians, whoever takes over Canada, wouldn't want it to happen. But there may be a financial, political, and tax and budget advantage for everybody for both of those. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It will be a fun ride as we go along, for sure. It will be a fun ride. So that's the what I call the show for the day. I invite you to test me anytime you want to. Send me a note, make a comment, whatever it might be. If you disagree with what I'm saying, if you think I'm wrong on something, I don't care. I don't mind you saying that. We'll discuss it. You know, if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. I think I was wrong one day, but it turned out I was wrong. But the point, I was wrong that I was wrong. But the point is, if I'm telling you something that isn't accurate, hey, you know what? Sometimes we miss stuff. Sometimes we get into a groove. You know, I forget how many, I gotta look at this. I've got tabs. I love Chrome because of this. You can set up a group. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've got 16 tabs that are in my Framers group that I use every day to get information. And it goes all the way from Fox News to MSNBC to some total whacked out websites that most people don't even know about. And I do that to see the stories and see if I can confirm what I've seen and heard. And that's the way you try to do a show so that you're not wrong. So I'll be back tomorrow. I will. Tomorrow I will be back here, right here on Framers View. It's just as simple as that. And I hope you have yourself an awesome freaking day. And until then, carry on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.